All right, let's really dive into this. Welcome, curious learners, to a deep exploration of a methodology that's, well, it's profoundly reshaping how projects, particularly in construction, get planned and executed. If you've ever found yourself caught in the whirlwind of a complex project, maybe watching plans kind of unravel on the ground or feeling that frustration of constant firefighting, then this deep dive is definitely for you.
Today, we're targeting a really fundamental challenge: project predictability. I mean, the materials we've looked at paint a pretty clear picture of an industry often hampered by these ingrained practices in the information flows, right? From design to detailing, fabrication, construction,
Yeah.
all based on years of the industry operating in silos.
Exactly. And those silos, as some of the research really emphasizes, are just fundamentally at odds with achieving the deep collaboration that's needed for modern projects to actually succeed. It's a huge barrier. Yeah, a huge barrier. And we'll expose how traditional, often pretty rigid top-down push scheduling consistently, well, it fails to reflect reality on the ground. And it fails precisely because it overlooks the invaluable insights of the very people doing the actual work.
That's the core of it. It misses that ground truth.
So the answer we're uncovering isn't some abstract academic idea, it's the last planner system, or LPS. This is a robust, really practical production control system designed to create reliable workflow and predictable outcomes on the job site.
It's much more than just a new process, though. It's about fostering a major paradigm shift in how teams genuinely collaborate and, crucially, make commitments to each other.
Right. We're talking about moving from that reactive chaos we've all probably experienced to a more proactive, controlled flow. So our mission over the next, say, 20 to 30 minutes is to meticulously break down the 5 interconnected components of LPS. We'll start with the high-level stuff, the master schedule, then move through phase scheduling, look-ahead planning, right down to the nitty-gritty of weekly work plans and even those quick daily huddles.
And we'll put a real spotlight on its collaborative heart, which is pull planning. That's where the experts closest to the action, the last planners, take the reins. They orchestrate tasks by working backward from those crucial milestones. It's a totally different way of thinking about sequencing.
Yeah, it really is. And you'll grasp how this system not only fosters communication and creates genuine buy-in, but also champions the paramount importance of reliable promises. It's a key phrase. And critically, we'll explain how a powerful yet honestly elegantly simple metric, tent plan complete, measures success, uncovers where things went off track, and drives continuous, measurable improvement. So as we begin, maybe just take a moment to consider, what's one aspect of traditional project management that you find most challenging or, frankly, frustrating in your own experience?
That's a great question to start with. And building on that idea about the frustrations of traditional project management, it's fascinating how universally applicable the problems LPS addresses really are. It's not just construction, though it's maybe most visible there. Our sources, the material we reviewed, it's very clear. Projects exist in environments with varying degrees of uncertainty. That's just a fact. And that uncertainty inherently presents both threats and opportunities.
Right. Things never go exactly according to plan, do they?
Exactly. That fundamental unpredictability, the simple truth that things rarely go perfectly as planned, is often the Achilles heel of conventional planning methods. Historically, project management has largely favored what's often called a predictive approach, where some large projects may be planned very linearly. Schedules are often generated way in advance, maybe by individuals or groups pretty far removed from the actual work site.
Yes, sitting in an office somewhere looking at a Gantt chart.
Precisely. And the unspoken and often quite unrealistic assumption baked into that is that all will go according to plan. This top-down push mentality dictates tasks without always fully appreciating the dynamic, sometimes chaotic nature of real-world execution.
It just creates this disconnect, doesn't it? The plan says one thing, reality says another.
A significant disconnect, yeah.
Yeah.
The carefully laid plans often clash hard with site realities. And ironically, our standard project management guides, they emphasize risk identification processes that demand realistic project assumptions. Yet the traditional push approach often struggles to embed that realism right from the start.
So it's kind of paying lip service to realism, but the method itself isn't built for it.
In many cases, yes, and this disconnect is made even worse by what some analyses identify as silos and disconnection. Traditional structures often create, and I quote, a sharp demarcation between productive, repetitive, and intellectual creative work.
The thinkers versus the doers mentality.
Exactly. And this isn't just an abstract idea, it's a deeply ingrained cultural legacy. One historical perspective cited, maybe a bit strongly worded but illustrative, harks back to an era where individuals and their talents diminished as humanity acquired value only in numbers, promoting feeble-mindedness necessary for docile productivity.
Wow, okay. That's quite a statement.
It is strong historical language, but the underlying idea that workers are sometimes seen as cogs rather than thinkers sadly persists in some environments. This mindset, rooted in the Fordist factory lines of the past, directly contributes to those ingrained practices in the information flows based on years of the industry operating in silos.
So designers design in their bubble, engineers in theirs, contractors execute. Nobody's really talking effectively.
Not in a truly integrated way, often. This segmented approach inherently blocks the free flow of crucial information and expertise. It just leads to constant friction and misunderstandings.
And the cost of sticking with that arm's length planning approach.
Oh, the cost is incredibly significant. Think about the tangible impact. Those constant last-minute calls from subcontractors, scrambling for information or clarification.
Yep, been there.
The chronic headaches caused by drawing errors and omissions that only surface when someone's trying to build it on site. The sheer inefficiency and cost of rework. And beyond the schedule and budget, projects can suffer from a sense that participants are forced into roles that are not quite suited to our personalities, which naturally leads to disengagement.
So it hits morale, too.
Absolutely. It cascades into budget overruns, schedule delays, sometimes lower quality, and definitely a demotivated workforce. It's a systemic issue where the initial planning method, which might seem efficient on paper, paradoxically creates massive downstream waste and frustration. It undermines the very goals it set out to achieve.
That's such a clear picture of the inherent challenges. And it really sets the stage perfectly for why lean construction and LPS as its cornerstone offers such a compellingly different and frankly effective path. It's far more than just, tightening belts or trying to speed things up. It's genuinely a transformative methodology. It's dedicated to the practical application of lean principles directly on the job site where it matters most.
Moving from theory to practice.
Exactly. This is where we shift from just identifying problems to implementing really powerful solutions. The core goals of lean construction are actually profound in their simplicity. The main aim is to create reliable workflow and predictable outcomes on the job site. Just imagine that for a second. Imagine a project where the work actually flows, where one activity seamlessly feeds into the next, where disruptions are minimized because they've actually been anticipated and addressed up front.
That sounds like the dream, doesn't it?
It does. It's about moving away from that chaos and unpredictability you just described so well, and moving into a state of genuine control and smooth operation. And how does it get there? By seeking to eliminate waste through increased collaboration, different ways of using technology, and new methods for planning the design and construction processes. Waste isn't just trash. It's wasted time, wasted effort, rework.
Anything that doesn't add value.
Precisely. It's about optimizing value by ruthlessly removing anything that doesn't contribute directly to the final product or the smooth process of getting there. And a huge, truly revolutionary part of this whole philosophy is its emphasis on empowerment and engagement. Lean principles advocate for a radical shift away from that traditional view where individuals are reduced to functional components, like cogs in a machine. Instead, it champions seeing every member of the organization as able to be an explorer, a maker, a hacker, and a networker. I love those terms.
They're evocative, aren't they?
They really are. It fosters what some call citizen empowerment and encourages collective action through deliberate bottom-up actions. It's about tapping into the collective intelligence, the expertise of the entire team, not just relying on the management hierarchy.
Because the people doing the work often know best how to do it efficiently.
Exactly. When the people actually doing the work have a real voice in how it's done, it fundamentally changes their investment, their commitment, their ownership. And at the very heart of making this shift happen, of harnessing that collective intelligence, you need a plan, but a robust and flexible one. As one author we looked at so powerfully puts it, the plan is the generator. Without it, poverty, disorder, willfulness reigns supreme.
That's a strong quote.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
The last planner system, with its structured yet adaptive approach, provides exactly that generator. It equips teams with a clear, shared framework. It prevents that poverty, disorder, and willfulness from taking root, and instead cultivates a coordinated, purposeful environment where everyone is working towards a shared, reliably executed goal.
That analogy of the plan as a generator is spot on, and it leads us directly into the foundational element within LPS, the master schedule. This is the project's grand vision, really, the highest level of planning. It's defined pretty simply as the schedule covering an entire project start to finish. Its primary role is just to establish the major milestones that delineate the overarching project phases.
So the big picture stuff, like the main chapters of the project story.
Exactly. Think of it as the project's compass. It sets the general direction, outlines the major waypoints, and charts the course from, inception right through to completion. Without this high-level map, all the subsequent, more detailed planning would lack that crucial direction and purpose. It anchors everything.
And these milestones, they're not just arbitrary dates on a calendar, right?
Not at all. They are absolutely critical strategic anchors. They represent tangible, significant completion points of project phases.
Yeah.
Things like finishing the substructure, getting the superstructure up, completing utility rough-ins, or maybe the final finishes on a building project.
Big visible achievements.
Exactly. These aren't daily tasks. They're the large-scale commitments that define the project's progress at a macro level. They serve as essential checkpoints, allowing all stakeholders, owners, designers, contractors to understand the broad rhythm and key achievements expected throughout the project's lifecycle. Every piece of work that follows will ultimately feed into accomplishing one of these key milestones.
And who creates this master schedule? Is it still a top-down thing?
Well, that's where things get interesting, especially for projects using more integrated or relational contracts. The research highlights that the collaborative generation of project master schedules is an appropriate research topic, which really underscores its strategic importance.
So collaboration right from the very start.
Ideally, yes. This means actively involving designers and constructors in the early stages. That's a stark departure from traditional models, where maybe one entity, like the owner or lead designer, dictates the schedule in isolation. This collaborative development is a real hallmark of integrated project delivery, or IPD, which is described as an opportunity to achieve significant return on investment to all team members.
Because everyone's bought in from day one.
Precisely. By bringing diverse expertise design, construction, maybe even key trades to the table from the outset, the master schedule becomes a shared vision. It's owned by all the key players, which significantly reduces potential conflicts down the road and massively increases collective commitment.
Okay, so it's high-level, collaborative,
Yeah.
but is it set in stone?
Good question. No, and that's crucial. Despite setting the project's long-term framework, it's designed to be dynamic, not rigidly immutable. It provides the framework, the main milestones, but the specifics get refined.
As you learn more.
Exactly. As more information becomes available and as the team gets closer to the actual work. The source material notes that the master schedule is further detailed and validated in phase scheduling as the project progresses. So, think of it as a living document. It guides the journey, but it's open to iterative refinement based on reality. It strikes an important balance between providing high-level clarity and maintaining the flexibility needed to adapt to real-world complexities.
Okay, that makes sense. It's the guide, not the straitjacket. And that's a perfect lead-in to our next component because, as you said, the master schedule sets the vision, but this next part is where the magic of LPS really starts to happen. This is where we move from that high-level theory to really practical, actionable application. We're talking about phase scheduling.
Breaking it down.
Yeah. Exactly. Phase scheduling is described as one level in LPS, where a phase gets broken out from the master plan. It takes those big, sometimes distant milestones and starts to define the concrete step-by-step pathway to actually achieve them within a specific time frame, like maybe the next 3-6 months. And here's where that concept of the last planners truly comes into its own and becomes, well, a real game changer.
This is the core empowerment piece, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's about bringing the foremen and trade leaders, the people actually doing the work on the ground, the ones with the boots on the site, directly into the planning process for that phase. They're the ones who plan the work by starting from a milestone and working backward. That's the essence of pull planning.
Working backward from the goal.
Right. Instead of starting at the beginning and pushing forward, you start at the end result for that phase and ask, okay, to achieve this milestone, what needs to be completed right before it? And before that, and before that.
It forces you to think about dependencies in a different way.
Totally. And this isn't just like delegating tasks. It represents a fundamental extension of managerial responsibility to frontline supervisors. It acknowledges their invaluable, granular expertise and their insight into what's genuinely achievable and how long things really take.
It respects their knowledge.
It does. Imagine trying to build, a complex Lego castle, but only the architect at the top has the blueprint and never asks the person physically assembling the bricks about the tricky connections or finding the right pieces. The last planners are those brick assemblers, and their input is absolutely vital for a realistic plan. This direct on-the-ground involvement is precisely where that genuine buy-in is forged. The principle is, people responsible for the work in that phase jointly develop the plan.
So it's their plan, not just a plan handed down.
Exactly. And this isn't a token gesture, not just a quick consultation. It's a deeply collaborative effort, usually involving structured sessions.
Depending on the phase, this includes a wide array of critical stakeholders. In a design phase, you might have engineers, architects, owners, designers, maybe even constructors and permitting agents all in the room planning together.
Everyone needed for that phase.
Right. And for a construction phase, it could be designers, the general contractor, specialty contractors, perhaps also owners, inspectors, and commissioning agents. Everyone with a direct stake and specific knowledge is there, contributing to a shared, achievable plan. This collective ownership transforms the plan from just a mandate into a real shared commitment.
Okay, so that collaboration is key. But you mentioned pull planning, working backwards. How does that differ from traditional scheduling?
That's the fundamental shift, the mechanism that makes phase planning so powerful. Instead of management pushing tasks down a predetermined timeline, often regardless of whether the preceding work is truly ready or if downstream constraints exist.
Like just hoping it all works out.
Kind of, yeah. Instead, pull planning is used to identify, define, and sequence tasks, creating a logic network based on actual readiness and dependencies. Imagine a busy restaurant kitchen again. In a push system, the head chef might just fire off all the orders to the line cooks as they come in, maybe overwhelming the sauté station.
Right, creating a bottleneck.
Exactly. In a pull system, the sauté station cook only pulls the next order ticket when they're actually ready to start cooking it. This ensures a smoother flow, less backlog, higher quality, less stress.
So work is pulled when there's capacity and readiness, not just pushed according to a theoretical schedule.
Precisely. This is a profound departure from traditional scheduling. It's about pulling work only when the downstream conditions are truly ready, which intrinsically helps to optimize the overall workflow beyond simply squeezing the work within the available time. It creates a smoother, more efficient, and ultimately more predictable rhythm for the entire phase.
And does early involvement of, say, the construction manager help here?
Immensely. The materials strongly emphasize the benefit of early CM involvement. They note that when construction managers are engaged in the early stages of a project, they are often able to add value by considering owner needs relative to the construction process. They might even recommend a phased approach, if that's needed to better manage complexity or uncertainty.
So they bring that practical buildability knowledge right into the planning.
Exactly. This proactive input, right from the conceptual stages, directly supports effective phase planning. It ensures that what's being planned isn't just theoretically sound on paper, but is truly achievable on the ground. It aligns with the project's ultimate goals and, critically, anticipates constructability issues long before they become expensive problems during execution. It's about embedding practical wisdom into the plan from the very beginning. That deep dive into phase planning, especially that whole pull concept, naturally raises an important question. Once we've collaboratively outlined those detailed steps within a phase, how do we ensure that those planned activities can actually be executed smoothly, without any last-minute surprises or, hitches?
Right. The plan looks good, but can we actually do it next week?
Exactly. And this is precisely where the look-ahead plan comes in. It's the next critical layer in the LPS process. It delves into the near future, typically looking out, say, 3 to 6 weeks ahead. This is the crucial step where those activities identified in the phase schedule get exploded into much finer detail. It's about meticulously preparing them for smooth execution. Essentially, it's about clearing the path ahead.
Making sure everything's ready before you plan to do the work.
That's the core idea. The true power of the look-ahead plan, and indeed a fundamental lean practice, lies in constraint analysis and removal. This is built on the principle that the work that should be performed by a certain date must be available to be performed, CME, without any blockage or interruption, meaning without any constraints holding it back.
And constraints can be anything, right? Not just missing materials.
Absolutely. They are incredibly varied. They can be physical, like needing plotter availability before printing designs, or more commonly in construction, ensuring rebar installation prior to concrete placement. You can't pour concrete if the rebar isn't ready. Or, and this is often overlooked, constraints can be informational. Things like needing the soils report before foundation design, getting critical engineering details before fabrication can start, or having the right permit before hazardous work can commence.
So it's about identifying all those potential roadblocks.
Proactively, yes. Identifying them well in advance of when the work is scheduled and then systematically removing them. That's what prevents delays and ensures smooth progress. It's the difference between just hoping nothing goes wrong and actively ensuring everything is ready to go.
And who's responsible for removing these constraints? Does it all fall on the project manager?
No, and that's another critical aspect. The responsibility for removing constraints is spread throughout the team. It doesn't just rest on one person's shoulders. This isn't solely the PM's burden. We're talking about design squad bosses, ensuring necessary information or drawings are released on time, foremen confirming they'll have labor appropriately skilled and in the quantities required. Maybe construction engineers are responsible for removing design information constraints, chasing down RFIs, and materials managers adjusting potential material constraints, ensuring deliveries are scheduled correctly.
So it's a team effort. Everyone has a role in clearing the path.
It's a collective, collaborative effort, absolutely. Everyone understands their specific role in ensuring the path is clear for upcoming work. This shared responsibility fosters a proactive culture. It minimizes the likelihood of anyone being able to say, well, I couldn't do my work because X wasn't ready. Everyone is invested in making sure the preceding conditions for work are met on time.
Okay, that makes sense. But is it possible to remove constraints too early?
That's a really subtle but profound insight from lean thinking. Yes, avoiding premature action is crucial because it can itself be a significant form of waste. The source material wisely points out that resolving the constraint too far in advance, like getting an early delivery of delicate materials or releasing design details months before needed, may end up generating work in process and inventory that prevents effective execution of work and creates potential rework.
Ah, so having stuff arrive too early can clog up the site or get damaged.
Exactly. Delivering materials to the site weeks before they're needed can lead to damage, theft, double handling, or simply getting in the way of other work. Similarly, releasing design details way ahead of time might mean they become outdated if site conditions change or a better approach is found, leading to costly rework. This highlights the delicate balance and the precise timing involved in look-ahead planning.
So it's not just if constraints are removed, but when.
Precisely. It's not just about removing constraints, but removing them at the optimal moment, the last responsible moment, some call it, to facilitate continuous flow, without inadvertently creating new problems or new forms of waste. It's a bit of an art, informed by experience and good communication.
That distinction between removing constraints and removing them at the right time is so crucial for real efficiency, isn't it? And it perfectly sets up our next component. So, what does all this meticulous look-ahead planning and constraint removal actually mean for the immediate future, for what happens next week on the project?
It leads us directly to the weekly work plan.
Right. This is the specific, actionable plan for the upcoming week. And crucially, this isn't just a wish list pulled out of thin air. This plan is directly informed by all those diligent efforts in the look-ahead process. It ensures that what's being planned for next week is actually feasible, that it's been vetted, and it's free of known roadblocks or constraints.
It's a plan built on a foundation of readiness.
Exactly. And the bedrock of predictable outcomes in LPS, the thing that makes it all work, is built on the concept of making reliable promises. This is where the last planners, the foremen, the trade leaders, having gone through the look ahead, identified constraints, assessed readiness, and understood the scope of work, make concrete, realistic commitments about what work they will complete in the coming week.
It's a shift from assigning tasks to making commitments.
A fundamental shift, yes. It's about collectively committing to outcomes for the week ahead. This stands in really stark contrast to environments where maybe project team members self-organize and self-manage, but without those explicit, transparent agreements.
Where accountability can be a bit fuzzy.
Right. Without those clear promises, there's often a lack of clear accountability. It leads to unmet expectations, frustration, and often a breakdown of trust between trades or between the field and management. LPS, through the weekly work plan, is all about fostering meaningful, continuous engagements that translate into tangible, shared commitments everyone can actually rely on.
And the impact of those reliable promises, what does that do for the project flow?
Well, the impact on overall workflow cannot be overstated. When these commitments, these promises made in the weekly work plan meeting, are consistently met, it dramatically stabilizes the workflow for everyone on the project. It creates this ripple effect of predictability. It prevents the starvation of downstream activities.
Hmm.
One trade standing around, waiting idly because the preceding work hasn't been completed as planned.
The classic construction site problem.
Exactly. Instead, because upstream non-bottlenecks have been coordinated through the weekly plan, they ensure they have the spare capacity needed to rebuild the inventory or buffer for subsequent tasks.
It creates a much smoother, more predictable flow of work across all trades. It significantly reduces that frantic, last-minute scrambling, costly reworks caused by rushing, and just generally frustrated teams. Everyone knows what to expect, and more importantly, when to expect it.
So thinking about this for you, our listener, considering this idea of reliable promises in a professional context, what stands out to you as the biggest challenge in making and keeping reliable promises in your own work? Whether it's managing a team, working on a personal project, or even just planning your own week, that challenge of commitment and consistent follow-through is pretty universal, I think, and LPS offers a really powerful framework to address it systematically.
That's a great reflective question, and it highlights that even with the most meticulously crafted weekly work plans, even with the strongest commitments from everyone, the reality of a dynamic environment like a construction site means, well, the unexpected will always happen.
Murphy's Law is always lurking like
Pretty
that.
much. And that's precisely where the final component, daily huddles, becomes incredibly important. These are short, focused daily meetings. They bring the last planners and key team members together, usually standing up, often right near the work area, for maybe 10-15 minutes. They're absolutely critical for coordinating a collective work effort in real time and dealing with immediate realities as they arise.
So, quick check-ins to keep things on track for the day.
Exactly. They prevent small issues from snowballing into major problems. They're like the daily pulse check of the project, happening right there in real time. These huddles are specifically designed for addressing the unexpected that inevitably pops up. As the materials confirm, job site conditions may be encountered that are appreciably different from those originally contemplated. Maybe a delivery is late despite promises, a piece of equipment malfunctions, or a previously unnoticed site condition suddenly appears.
Something you couldn't have predicted in the weekly plan.
Right. This is where the team can quickly identify something like problem drawings that just came to light, or discuss potential drawing errors and omissions someone spotted. And crucially, they work collaboratively right there on the spot towards an equitable solution. It's about rapid response, collective problem solving with the people involved, and a commitment to keeping the work moving forward rather than letting issues fester, cause finger pointing, and create cascading delays.
So it's about immediate adaptation.
That's the core purpose, enabling adaptive adjustments. The team needs to be, as engineers are often described, quick to adjust and recommend new approaches when a mistake is identified or a new challenge emerges. This continuous daily feedback loop ensures that the plan remains relevant and responsive to the actual evolving conditions on the ground. It's where maybe new activities are added to deal with something, or the durations of existing activities are modified based on what happened yesterday.
So the plan isn't rigid. It adapts daily.
Exactly. It's a pragmatic acknowledgement that plans are guides, not immutable laws etched in stone. Constant, intelligent adaptation is key to success in complex environments. This agility is really a defining characteristic of an LPS-driven project.
And do these huddles cover anything besides the immediate tasks?
Yes, they often do. They go beyond just the what's the plan for today and cover crucial operational aspects that contribute to a holistic and, importantly, safe work environment. For example, they might involve a quick review of accident and illness reporting forms if something happened yesterday, or a reminder about the working rules and regulations of the safety program. It ensures that field supervisors understand how and when these forms are to be used. It reinforces safety protocols, embedding them into the daily routine, keeping everyone aligned on both productivity and, crucially, well-being.
So it's a moment for everyone to align, recalibrate, confirm readiness for the day, and reinforce safety culture.
Precisely. Making sure not just the work, but the people doing the work are set up for a successful and safe day.
That picture of the daily huddle really brings to life the dynamic, adaptive nature of LPS. It's not just planning, it's continuous planning and adjustment. And it leads us to something truly fascinating about LPS. It isn't just a system for managing tasks, it's a powerful culture builder. Here's where it gets really interesting, I think, because LPS is a testament to the sheer power of having a shared purpose and tapping into that collective intelligence. It intentionally fosters communication and creates genuine buy-in for the people actually doing the work.
It makes them part of the solution, not just executors of orders.
Exactly. It transforms individuals who might feel like, cogs in a machine into empowered, invested contributors who actually care about the outcome because they help shape the plan. And this system directly tackles and actively works on breaking down silos, which you mentioned earlier, as such a major endemic problem in traditional project management.
Getting people out of their functional boxes.
Right. It confronts the challenge of industries operating in silos by intentionally integrating diverse teams right from the ground up. We see this powerfully manifested sometimes in innovative contractual agreements, like a multi-party agreement that includes the owner, design professional, and constructor as signatories to the same construction contract,
Yeah.
sometimes called an integrated form of agreement, or IFOA.
Aligning everyone contractually.
Yes, and this kind of structure isn't just legal jargon. The thinking is that it creates the environment for change to happen. It truly pushes teams toward deep collaboration, rather than merely coexisting or working at arm's length with conflicting interests. It aligns incentives and responsibilities, making collaboration a foundational principle, not just a nice-to-have.
And how does this collaboration actually look in practice during planning?
Often it's made tangible and incredibly effective through visual planning. Think of the value, as one source described it, in learning from good examples in a little time, by measuring and seeing the entire edifices with all their parts upon a small leaf than in a long time from words.
Seeing is believing, or at least understanding.
Exactly. Imagine a large wall covered with different colored sticky notes representing tasks, durations, dependencies, constraints assigned to different teams, all organized collaboratively during a pull planning session.
Making the plan visible to everyone.
Right. These visual tools, which are increasingly supported by advanced technologies like Building Information Modeling, or BIM, make the plans clear, accessible, and understandable to everyone involved. It fosters a shared mental model of the project.
BIM, as a single source for building information, means that plans, elevations, wall sections, and schedules are always consistent, change one, and all related work is changed.
That consistency is huge.
It is. And this digital consistency, combined with the collaborative spirit of LPS, is a powerful engine for shared understanding and collaborative problem solving, especially for detecting clashes before they happen.
This intentional bottom-up engagement of the last planners, the people doing the work, it aligns beautifully with a broader, almost societal concept that came up in the research, the idea of smart citizens.
Interesting connection. How so?
Well, some argue that for cities, top-down frameworks are not enough. Bottom-up actions are needed to transform urban spaces. There could be no smart city without smart citizens.
People participating in shaping their environment.
Exactly. And this powerful idea applies directly to the construction site, which is like a temporary city in itself. Empowering the people closest to the actual work, the skilled trades, the foreman, transforms the project. It moves from being just a top-down mandate to becoming a collaborative, living endeavor. When people feel heard, valued, and genuinely instrumental in crafting the plan, their commitment, their creativity, their problem-solving prowess, it's just unleashed. And that leads to a truly smart and effective project execution.
That concept of smart citizens translating to empowered last planners on the job site is a great analogy. And in a system built so strongly on these ideas of reliable promises and collective action, it becomes absolutely essential, doesn't it, to have a robust, transparent way to measure that reliability.
You need to know if the promises are being kept.
Precisely. And this is exactly where percent plan complete, or PPC, comes in as a key, really powerful metric within the last planner system. It's not just another score to track. It's like a mirror reflecting the team's ability to actually execute its commitments week after week.
So how is it calculated? Is it complicated?
Not at all. And that's part of its beauty. PPC is specifically the metric used in the LPS to gauge plan reliability. It's a very straightforward yet incredibly insightful calculation. It's simply the percentage of actual completions to planned completions in a daily or weekly work plan.
Okay, so tasks done divided by tasks planned.
Essentially, yes. For instance, if a team collaboratively planned to complete 10 specific tasks in a given week during their weekly work planning meeting, and by the end of the week they had successfully completed 8 of those specific tasks, well, their PTC for that week would be 80%.
Simple enough, 8 out of 10.
Right. It's a simple ratio, but it cuts through ambiguity. It tells the team, in no uncertain terms, how well they are meeting the commitments they made to each other. And importantly, the focus isn't initially on blaming someone for the misses, but on generating clear data for learning.
And the transparency is key here, I imagine.
Absolutely crucial. The true power of PPC lies in its transparency and its ability to drive meaningful, objective conversations. This measurement makes planning performance explicit and undeniable, visible to everyone involved. It aligns beautifully with the principles of what Edward Tufte calls graphical excellence, which demands clarity, precision, efficiency in communicating complex ideas. PPC does that. It asks us to show data variation, not design variation, focus on the performance data, and use clear, detailed, and thorough labeling. When PPC is displayed visually, maybe on a whiteboard during the daily huddles or weekly reviews, everyone understands the performance, good or bad, without obfuscation.
So it shifts the conversation.
It really does. It transforms discussions from potentially subjective finger-pointing, why didn't you get that done, to objective analysis. Okay, we hit 80% this week. What were the reasons those 2 tasks weren't completed? What constraints popped up? What can we learn?
So it's not just a score, it's a diagnostic tool.
Exactly. PPC isn't just a grade to be reported upwards. It's a critical feedback loop for continuous learning and improvement. It's absolutely central to the Plan-Do-Check Act, or PDCA cycle, a cornerstone of lean thinking.
Can you walk us through how that works with PPC?
Sure. With PPC, you first plan the work collaboratively for the week in your weekly work planning session. Then you do the work throughout the week. Next, you check your PPC. At the end of the week, you calculate the percentage, and crucially, you analyze the reasons for any variances, any tasks not completed. This check is about assessing the consequences of the action. Did we meet our plan? And if not, why not? And finally, you act. Based on the reasons identified in the check phase, you make necessary revisions to your process. You address the root causes of the plan failures. Maybe information wasn't ready, maybe materials were late, maybe coordination broke down, and then you work to standardize practice for future work to prevent recurrence.
So it's a cycle of planning, doing, learning, and adjusting.
Precisely. This systematic, iterative cycle helps teams learn directly from their own experiments and weekly planning. They understand where their plans deviate from reality and why. Every missed promise, when viewed through the objective lens of PPC and root cause analysis, becomes an invaluable opportunity to learn, adapt, and get better. It drives profound and sustained improvements in workflow reliability and overall project execution.
That connection between PPC and continuous improvement really feels like the engine driving LPS forward, doesn't it? And to truly grasp the profound impact of LPS on workflow, especially how it helps avoid those frustrating bottlenecks, let's maybe turn to a classic analogy. It comes from Eliyahu Goldratt's famous book, The Goal. Have you come across the Boy Scout analogy?
Oh yeah, the hike with Herbie. It's a great one.
It really is. So imagine a troop of Boy Scouts hiking single file through the woods. The troop's overall progress, its throughput, is inevitably limited, or bottlenecked, by the slowest hiker in the line, whom the book famously names Fat Herbie.
Poor Herbie.
I know, right? Now, if the fastest scout at the front of the line is allowed to just race ahead as fast as they can, then stop and wait for everyone else to catch up, what actually happens?
The line stretches out, right? The fast guy waits, Herbie plugs along.
Exactly. Inventory, in this case, the distance between the scouts, builds up massively. The faster scouts aren't actually making the troop as a whole go any faster. They're just creating wasted effort by rushing ahead and then standing around waiting. Meanwhile, the overall pace of the entire troop is still fundamentally dictated by Herbie at the back.
It creates frustration, inefficiencies, and ultimately zero improvement in the troop's actual progress towards the destination. Just looks busy.
Looks busy, yeah. So the solution in the analogy is brilliant in its simplicity, but really deeply instructive for managing flow. What do?
They put Herbie at the front, didn't they? Or tied ropes between them. Something to keep everyone together.
Well, the core idea is everybody stay in line until we catch up, or manage the line so it stays compressed. By metaphorically linking hands, or at least maintaining a disciplined pace and moving as a coordinated unit, the whole troop begins to move at the pace of the bottleneck, Herbie, but together in a coordinated flow.
No more stretching out, no more waiting.
Right. This eliminates the inventory of distance, the wasted waiting time by the faster individuals, and the illusion of progress created by individuals rushing ahead. Instead, it fosters a shared understanding that the system's output, the troop's arrival time, is limited by its weakest link, its bottleneck. And therefore, everyone must coordinate around that constraint to optimize the whole system's performance. And LPS helps construction teams apply this exact lesson directly in the incredibly complex real world of building projects. The very first step, mirroring the Boy Scouts, is identifying the system's constraint.
Finding your Irby for the week or phase.
Exactly. This is where look-ahead planning and constraint analysis really excel, pinpointing what's currently holding up progress or what's likely to become the bottleneck. Once that's identified, the next step is to decide how to exploit the system's constraints.
Meaning, make sure Herbie, the bottleneck activity, is never starved for work, always has what it needs, and is working at maximum effectiveness. Protect the bottleneck.
Precisely. And then, crucially, you subordinate everything else to that decision. This is often the hardest part culturally. It means all upstream activities, all the faster scouts, are paced to feed the bottleneck at its optimal rate without overwhelming it or creating excessive inventory, like piles of materials waiting or completed work that can't be handed off.
So you manage the inputs to the bottleneck carefully.
Yes. Just as in the analogy, upstream resources not only have to supply the current consumption of the bottleneck, at the same time they have to rebuild the inventory, or buffer just ahead of it. So too on a construction site, you need to carefully manage your buffers and capacities to ensure smooth, continuous flow through the bottleneck. Not just focus on individual task speed everywhere else.
The goal isn't just for each trade to work as fast as possible in isolation.
Right. The goal is to maximize the capacity of the system, often by focusing on the press room or the critical path activity and subordinating everything else to that.
Good.
LPS, through pull planning, look ahead, and weekly work planning, gives you the tools to identify your Herbie, keep them working effectively, and coordinate everyone else to ensure the whole project moves forward efficiently and, most importantly, predictably.
That analogy really does perfectly illustrate the core principle of flow that LPS brings to project execution. It's about managing the system, not just the parts. And if we connect this back to the bigger picture, the proof of LPS's effectiveness, beyond the theory and analogies, really lies in the tangible, real-world results that numerous teams have achieved by applying it. The materials we reviewed confirm that teams implementing this approach have consistently seen dramatically improved schedule performance.
Not just marginal gains.
No, often dramatic improvements. This isn't just a subjective feeling of things going better, it's a measurable outcome. It often shows up as shorter overall project durations, reduced need for costly overtime, and significantly increased predictability in meeting milestones. These are real, bottom-line benefits that owners and contractors both value highly.
And what's driving that improvement? Is it just better planning?
It's smarter planning, driven by that proactive problem-solving culture we discussed. By engaging the last planners directly in both phase planning, working backward, and look-ahead planning, removing constraints, they are empowered to identify potential issues before they happen. They spot those constraints related to material, equipment, or release of design information long before these issues can actually stop work on the job site.
So they're solving problems on paper, not in the field under pressure.
Exactly. This foresight allows for strategic, thoughtful interventions. For example, instead of just trying to make existing activities run faster by cracking the whip, a team might proactively figure out how to reduce highway bridge duration through clever logic changes. Like the example given, prefabricating and using two sets of abutment forms concurrently instead of sequentially. That kind of thinking comes from the people closest to the work being involved in the planning.
It's a shift from reactive firefighting to proactive optimization.
Precisely. Solving problems in a planning meeting or a huddle rather than dealing with the consequences of a delay after it's already happened.
But what happens when delays do occur? Because, as we said, unexpected things still happen, even with LPS.
Right. No system is perfect and reality is messy. But when delays do inevitably occur, LPS provides a structured framework to manage them effectively, rather than just reacting chaotically. First, it helps teams to measure the true effect of the delay. Using clear metrics and the established baseline from the plan, you can see the impact more clearly. And then it facilitates a systematic response. Maybe that involves suspending parallel operations that would be impacted anyway, and deliberately redirecting resources to unaffected portions of the project to keep overall progress moving where possible.
So a controlled response instead of panic.
Yes. This systematic approach, rather than ad hoc, potentially counterproductive reactions, is crucial. It not only helps mitigate the immediate impact of the delay, but also provides valuable data for future learning. And importantly, it provides compelling evidence of the delay and its consequence on the project. This clarity is invaluable for transparent problem resolution among the team, and also, if necessary, for documenting claims or change orders, ensuring fairness and accountability even when things go awry. It transforms an unfortunate event into a controlled, data-driven response and learning opportunity.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So, pulling this all together, what does all this mean for the daily grind, the feel of being on a bustling construction site using LPS? You've mentioned improved schedules, better problem solving. What else changes?
Well, one of the most significant and truly transformative benefits people report is how it fosters a highly coordinated job site, an environment where different trades actually work together almost seamlessly rather than constantly bumping into each other or waiting on each other. This is where trade coordination truly shines. It moves from being just an aspirational goal, often talked about, to a tangible everyday reality.
How does LPS achieve that specifically?
It's baked into the process. The system is specifically designed for breaking down silos and building bridges between the various specialized teams. By consistently bringing together the last planners, remember, the foremen and trade leaders from different disciplines, into those collaborative pull planning sessions for phase planning, and then reinforcing it in the weekly work planning meetings and those crucial daily huddles.
They just start talking to each other more.
Yes, and more importantly, they start planning with each other. The system naturally builds rapport, mutual understanding of each other's needs and constraints, and a powerful sense of shared purpose. They're all working off the same visual plan they helped create. This ensures that coordination across different disciplines eliminates the problems previously associated with ensuring that everything fits in its allotted space horizontally and vertically.
Ah, the classic clash detection problem. Trying to fit pipes, ducts, and wires into the same ceiling space.
Exactly. Yeah. Think about the nightmare scenarios. Electrical conduits clashing with plumbing lines because they were designed or planned in isolation, or HVAC ducts physically obstructing structural elements, leading to costly on-site modifications and delays. LPS, through its collaborative planning processes where these potential clashes are identified visually and discussed before installation, addresses these conflicts proactively. It leads to significantly less conflict during execution, dramatically less rework, and just a much smoother overall build process where everyone is working in harmony, respecting each other's space and sequence.
And technology must play a role here too, right? Like BIM.
Absolutely. Technology, particularly building information modeling, BIM, plays a crucial and highly synergistic supporting role in enabling this coordination. The materials highlight that having a single source for building information, which a well-managed BIM model provides, means that plans, elevations, wall sections, and schedules are always consistent. Critically, change one and all related work is changed automatically throughout the model.
So everyone's working from the same up-to-date digital information.
Precisely. This digital consistency, combined with the collaborative planning spirit fostered by LPS, is an incredibly powerful antidote to conflicts and rework. Everyone is literally looking at and working from the same integrated 3D model. Tools that allow data exchange using industry-standard formats like IFC files, or platforms where teams can share and interact with BIM models directly, like techless structures, as mentioned, make interoperability straightforward for these coordinated teams.
So it's not just conceptual collaboration in meetings. It's practical digital synchronicity too.
Yes, everyone is working from the same page, both digitally in the model and collaboratively in the planning sessions, ensuring that the unified vision actually translates into a unified, clash-free build.
And just to bring this down from the high-level coordination to the real nitty-gritty,
Yeah.
how does this impact specific tasks?
Think about the intricate details involved in something seemingly simple like installing gypsum board or drywall, ensuring you minimize nail popping by using the correct ring shank nails at precise intervals specified by the design. Or think about the specific requirements for achieving consistent weather-tight mortar joints in masonry work. These aren't isolated tasks performed in a vacuum.
They depend on framing being right or the structure being ready.
Exactly. They depend on countless preceding activities being done correctly and on time, and they, in turn, impact subsequent activities like painting or finishing. LPS ensures that the people directly responsible for these intricate tasks, the drywall foreman, the mason foreman, are actively coordinating their efforts with others in those planning sessions and daily huddles. They are confirming that the right materials, like the specific nails or mortar mix, the correct up-to-date information, drawings, specs, and the necessary site conditions, framing complete, weather protection, are all available to be performed precisely when their work is scheduled in the weekly plan.
So it's about empowering expertise at every level, down to the details.
Yes, empowering that expertise to contribute to a perfectly synchronized build, ensuring not just speed, but quality and efficiency in every single detail through proactive planning and coordination.
Okay, this has been a really thorough exploration. So let's try to wrap things up. Today, We've taken a really deep dive into the last planner system. We've seen it's a powerful lean construction methodology, one that fundamentally shifts how projects get planned and executed. We journeyed from the broad strokes of the master schedule, which gives that overall project vision.
The big picture.
Right. Then, through the detailed commitments made during collaborative phase planning and weekly work planning.
Where the reliable promises happen.
Exactly. And right down to the immediate adaptive problem solving that occurs in those quick daily huddles. We've seen again and again how LPS really empowers those closest to the work. The last planners, the foremen, the trade leads through that process of collaborative pull planning.
Which fosters that genuine buy-in we talked about.
Absolutely. And leads to more reliable promises, which then gets measured using precise metrics like percent plan complete, or PPC, driving that cycle of continuous improvement. It really feels like a proactive, adaptable approach that moves us far beyond the limitations of traditional, often rigid top-down scheduling. It seems to bring unprecedented clarity and control, even to the most complex projects.
That's a great summary. It really captures the essence of how LPS transforms the planning and execution process. And, this raises an important question, maybe a bigger picture thought that extends far beyond just the construction site itself. The core principles we've discussed today, things like deep collaboration, radical transparency, continuous learning through feedback loops like PPC, and that unwavering focus on creating reliable workflow. These aren't just construction techniques.
They feel more fundamental than that.
They really are. At their heart, they are about exposing and challenging our deeply embedded, often unconscious, slippery mental models about how work should get done, how teams should operate, who should do the planning, and who should just execute. As one of the sources we looked at reminds us, maybe with a touch of stark realism, people will do almost anything before they will shift their paradigm.
That inertia is powerful, isn't it? Resisting change even when a better way is clear.
Incredibly powerful. So the true challenge in implementing something like LPS or any real systemic improvement often lies not just in adopting the new tools or processes, the sticky notes, the software, the meeting formats. The deeper challenge is in fundamentally changing how we think about planning, about commitment, about failure as a learning opportunity, and about collective effort. It's about overcoming that inherent human resistance to questioning the way things have always been done, even when presented with compelling evidence of a better alternative. It requires courage and persistence to challenge those ingrained assumptions.
That's a really profound point. It's not just about the what, but the why and the how we think about work. So building on that, here's a final provocative thought for you, our listener, to mull over. If the true enduring power of the last planner system lies, as we've discussed, in empowering those closest to the work, the last planners, and fostering a culture built on reliable promises and continuous improvement, then what are the most subtle, perhaps often unspoken, mental models or ingrained practices in your own field, or maybe even just in your daily life or teamwork, that inadvertently prevent genuine bottom-up participation? What stops reliable workflow, even when everyone involved genuinely desires better outcomes? How can you begin to bring those deeply held, perhaps unconscious assumptions to the light of day? How can you start to challenge them, even in small ways, to truly unlock the potential for transformation wherever you are? Moving from just doing things the way they've always been done to finding ways to do things better together?